airwaves and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Early break.
There's quite a situation going on.
What?
Jake's been asked to step away on Fridays from now on.
Yeah,
they want to break. Young Ben has been dubbed as the curse breaker. He's been dubbed as the curse breaker, and Jake's been asked kindly to step away.
Just for Fridays.
Just
Fridays only.
Game
day only. Game day eve only.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
An hour ago, you didn't need a plumber. Now you're in a panic. When life throws you a surprise with a clogged drain, plugged or leaky toilet, broken pipe, leaky faucet or water heater, or a bathroom or kitchen plumbing upgrade, whatever. Just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Keep that number handy, 467-1111. Or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, wanting to thank you all again for your continued service. November is off and running. Check this out. Get up to $12,000 off or 0% financing on select new vehicles. We have great lease specials with new Trax and Trailblazers starting at $299 per month and new Blazer EVs leasing for $399. Great payments, discounts, and of course, 0% financing. So make that short drive down 144th Street or check us out online at CoppellCars.com. You'll be glad you did. All finance with approved credit, leases with $2,500 down.
This holiday season, recharge with the Planet Fitness Black Card for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. So instead of fighting a stranger in the mall over a stuffed T-Rex, bring a friend for free and work out on the TRX. Instead of freezing in line for a lame holiday deal, relax in the Black Card Spa with some hydro massage feels. Instead of being trapped at your in-laws, escape to any of our 2,600 Planet Fitness locations. Sign up today for the Planet Fitness Black Card. Just $1 down and $24.99 a month. Deal ends Friday, December 6th. See Club for details.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Early break.
There's quite a situation going on.
What?
Jake's been asked to step away on Fridays from now on. They want to break. Young Ben has been dubbed as the curse breaker. He's been dubbed as the curse breaker, and Jake's been asked kindly to step away.
Just for Fridays.
Just Fridays.
Just Fridays only.
Game
day only.
Yes.
Game day eve only.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
An hour ago, you didn't need a plumber. Now you're in a panic. When life throws you a surprise with a clogged drain, plugged or leaky toilet, broken pipe, leaky faucet or water heater, or a bathroom or kitchen plumbing upgrade, whatever. Just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Keep that number handy, 467-1111. Or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, wanting to thank you all again for your continued service. November is off and running. Check this out. Get up to $12,000 off or 0% financing on select new vehicles. We have great lease specials with new Trax and Trailblazers starting at $299 per month and new Blazer EVs leasing for $399. Great payments, discounts, and of course, 0% financing. So make that short drive down 144th Street or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All finance with approved credit, leases with $2,500 down.
This holiday season, recharge with the Planet Fitness Black Card for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. So instead of fighting a stranger in the mall over a stuffed T-Rex, bring a friend for free and work out on the TRX. Instead of freezing in line for a lame holiday deal, relax in the Black Card spa with some hydro massage feels. Instead of being trapped at your in-laws, escape to any of our 2,600 Planet Fitness locations. Sign up today for the Planet Fitness Black Card. Just $1 down and $24.99 a month. Deal ends Friday, December 6th. See Club for details.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Early break.
There's quite a situation going on.
What?
Jake's been asked to step away on Fridays from now on.
Yeah,
they want to break. Young Ben has been dubbed as the curse breaker. He's been dubbed as the curse breaker, and Jake's been asked kindly to step away.
Just for Fridays.
Just
though.
Fridays.
Just Fridays only.
Game
day only.
Yes.
Game day eve only.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
An hour ago, you didn't need a plumber. Now you're in a panic. When life throws you a surprise with a clogged drain, plugged or leaky toilet, broken pipe, leaky faucet or water heater, or a bathroom or kitchen plumbing upgrade, whatever. Just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Keep that number handy, 467-1111. Or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, wanting to thank you all again for your continued service. November is off and running. Check this out. Get up to $12,000 off or 0% financing on select new vehicles. We have great lease specials with new Trax and Trailblazers starting at $299 per month and new Blazer EVs leasing for $399. Great payments, discounts, and of course, 0% financing. So make that short drive down 144th Street or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All finance with approved credit, leases with $2,500 down.
This holiday season, recharge with the Planet Fitness Black Card for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. So instead of fighting a stranger in the mall over a stuffed T-Rex, bring a friend for free and work out on the TRX. Instead of freezing in line for a lame holiday deal, relax in the Black Card spa with some hydro massage feels. Instead of being trapped at your in-laws, escape to any of our 2,600 Planet Fitness locations. Sign up today for the Planet Fitness Black Card. Just $1 down and $24.99 a month. Deal ends Friday, December 6th. See Club for details.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Early break.
There's quite a situation going on.
What?
Jake's been asked to step away on Fridays from now on. They want to break. Young Ben has been dubbed as the curse breaker. He's been dubbed as the curse breaker, and Jake's been asked kindly to step away.
Just for Fridays.
Just
though.
Fridays.
Just Fridays only.
Game
day only.
Yes.
Game day eve only.
Early break from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apples, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
An hour ago, you didn't need a plumber. Now you're in a panic. When life throws you a surprise with a clogged drain, plugged or leaky toilet, broken pipe, leaky faucet or water heater, or a bathroom or kitchen plumbing upgrade, whatever. Just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Keep that number handy, 467-1111. Or go to BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Husker Hoops just wrapped up.
As Williams turns the corner, 2 more into the line. A chance for 3, Bryce Williams.
Hustle down to the block, post up, and go to work now on 93.7 The Ticket.
And the offensive rebound. Berke Butunjel.
The Postgame Post-Up is sponsored by Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, and Lincoln Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits.
There's a CJ, same spot. He is red hot. A siege in the head half court. Eulis good as it goes, and it counts. Aaron Eulis with a half court 3
on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Not over yet, but trending that way. Iowa leads Nebraska 91-83 as it stands. We'll bring you the final score when it goes final. But welcome into the post-game post-up, Nebraska men's basketball post-game show. Austin Norman with you, joined as always by Harrison Arns over there on the board. Like I said, Harrison, it's not done yet. Don't want to write the Huskers off, but we can kind of tell the story of this game in a couple ways. Number one, it was Iowa getting off to the quick start. Bryce Williams had all of Nebraska's 5 first points, but Iowa took the early lead. And let's just start with this, Harrison. 2 games in a row where Nebraska hasn't started the best. Against UCLA, it was because of the Bruins' athleticism and the pressure on the defensive end. This time in Iowa City, it was Iowa's pace with the ball, right? We know Iowa runs offense at a pretty good clip, the best scoring offense in the Big Ten. Nebraska looked a little bit out of sync defensively early on compared to offensively a little bit against UCLA. But that's not necessarily what cost the Huskers, because they would go on to a 14-0 run as well as part of an 18-3 run to go from down by 7 points to up by 8 points. That's where the game stood with about 3 minutes to go in the first half. But then the last 3 minutes of the first half, Harrison, with an 8-point lead, Nebraska can't extend the lead. Iowa cuts into it by 5. Huskers lead by only 3 at the half. And that, to me, is one of the big stories of this game, is that Nebraska got up 8 in the first half and was not able to push that lead to double digits to step on the Hawkeyes' throat at all. And then in the second half, 15-point lead for the Huskers. They're feeling pretty good. Iowa takes a timeout. And from there, it's been all Hawkeyes. Since that timeout that Fran McCaffrey took, I'm trying to pull up the scoring here in the second half. I don't know how far back it goes. So second half scoring, Nebraska led by 15 points. It was 52-37. Iowa would hit a 3. Nebraska would go back up 57-44. And then from there, it's pretty much been all Hawkeyes. It's crazy to see just how quickly it unraveled for Nebraska, but we're not necessarily surprised because of how well Iowa can play offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same Iowa that you're kind of used to seeing. If Iowa's going to have a good day shooting, you better have a good day on offense, because like this is the same Iowa team that gave up, what was it, 113, 116
to
Wisconsin.
To Wisconsin. Right.
Iowa's good. They're going to have nights where they look great on offense. And you can even argue tonight, like, we'll get into it. As good as they were on offense at times, like there's times of just defense, we weren't even getting out there with a contest. And again, there is still 45 seconds left here, at least on what I'm seeing, 92-85 on this game. There's maybe a miracle chance that Nebraska can pull something off here. But yeah, it's a game where you know what Iowa's going to do. If Iowa's down by 15, they're not going to panic. They're going to do exactly what their offense does anyways. Shoot threes.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams where it's a bizarre situation where if you take them, quote unquote, out of their system by getting them behind early, their system still predicates on just jacking up a bunch of threes anyways. And you saw that. Who was the player you mentioned had 27 of his points alone in the second half?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
In the first half, it was Josh Dix for Iowa. He had 16 of Iowa's 31 points, 6 of 9 from the floor, including 4 of 6 from 3. And it was in a variety of ways. A couple were some decently contested shots. A couple of them were wide open from long range. But that was basically countered out by 12 points from Bryce Williams in the first half on 5 of 6 shooting. Berke Bouytengel and Raleigh Booster combined for 11 on 4 of 6. But at the half, Harrison, Nebraska shot 7 free throws to Iowa's 0. But Nebraska only made 3 of them, including missing the front end of at least 1 and 1. Iowa now up by 10 points with 33 seconds to play in overtime. But at the half, you didn't feel great about where Nebraska was at because Iowa had missed some shots that were open. They're only 12 of 28 overall, but 7 of 16 from 3. And this was one of my big keys to the game, Harrison. My 3 big things was, can Nebraska make the math work in its favor? What I meant by that was, I was going to shoot threes. They shoot, if not the most, a top 3 rate of threes in the Big Ten. They knock them down, the 3rd best percentage in the conference at 38%. That's not necessarily Nebraska's game. That starting lineup, not a whole bunch of capable shooters out there, consistent shooters, I would say, and not a lot of reinforcements off the bench. So Nebraska led it by 3 at the break because they were more efficient from 2, but also because they hit 5 of 12 from 3. If Nebraska, they've kept it up pretty well. They're shooting pretty well from 3, but it was the deluge in the second half from Iowa, right? 16 points from Josh Dix, who's been a good player, who's known to do this from long range. He's shooting 40-odd% from 3 coming into the game. But where he felt like Nebraska had to watch out was with Peyton Sandfort. Iowa's best player, one of the leading scorers in the Big Ten. He only took 2 shots in the first half, missed them both because he had 2 early fouls. But then Harrison, in the second half, and then into overtime, Peyton Sandfort has scored all 30 of his points, 8 of 13 in the second half, 6 of 9 from 3. But how to get started, Harrison? Nebraska let him get to the free throw line, and then they gave him some walk-in threes. It wasn't schematic in the second half. It was Nebraska losing focus in transition, losing losing track of good shooters, and a couple lazy closeouts. You let Iowa get one, it turned into 3, turned into 5, turned into 6, and the deluge was on.
Yeah, especially when you're on the road, right? Like, it's one thing you do that, say you're playing in the vault, you can sometimes get by with a mental lapse because the momentum's such a hard thing to gather. When you're playing Iowa, the place was just kind of waiting for it. As soon as they started hitting some threes, guess what? The next guy feels pretty good about his shot as well. And it just kind of started an avalanche. And I don't know what that was with the defensive lapse. That, to me, that was the most frustrating thing. Was there's things that you can't always help. Creighton could have had an almost similar game where, for whatever reason, when they played Nebraska, they shoot the lights out, because we'll probably talk about it, but Iowa ended up 48% from 3 on the day. Part of that, yeah, we're giving them some open looks. The other part of that, I was just shooting the ball really well that day. Creighton, it was a lot more credit to us for some good defense, but Creighton was also missing some wide open threes, and their offense, although not quite the same, they're very predicated on the 3-point line, and that's with Kalkbrenner. Mm-hmm. And Nebraska is able to handle business. So when you're playing the Hawkeyes like this, and looks like that's official OT there.
97 to 87. Iowa puts up 21 points in 5 minutes in overtime. A lot of that at the free throw line with Nebraska playing from behind. But Harrison, Iowa got off to a hot start in overtime as well. Let's just pull up the scoring for overtime. Iowa ends up scoring the first 2, 5, 7, first 9 points of overtime, from 76 all to 85 to 76 in the first 2 minutes of overtime. So there's a lot to break down from this one. I think first and foremost, this was a disappointing result for Nebraska. The record is back to 500 in conference play. They've won the 2 at home. They've lost the 2 on the road. And I think this one stings, Harrison, officially because it was avoidable. You got it by 15, and then it all fell apart. Because why? 1 or 2 mental lapses on the defensive side. Yes, Iowa hit a lot of threes today. Some of them were tough and contested, but you can't let a guy like Peyton Sandfort get hot. You give him a cheap foul, he gets to the free throw line, he gets a lucky kind of bounce, a shooter's bounce, a home court sort of bounce on a trail 3 from what we have to call Caitlin Clark range because it's being played at Iowa. But he gets the free throws, he hits the one in transition, and they're like, okay, I'm good, I'm recentered, I'm back on my game. He hit some tough ones, he hit some contested ones, but throughout the second half, Nebraska was 1 step short on the closeouts, 1 step slow, where in the first half, yeah, Iowa hit a couple, but Nebraska also did a much better job, I thought, in the first half of recovering out to shooters than it did in the second half. And that goes to this, Harrison. The body language from Nebraska was not good. As soon as Iowa hit one, okay, whatever, fine. But it felt like Nebraska relaxed. It felt like Nebraska let off the gas. And it was different than football against Iowa, right? Football against Iowa is, oh crap, here we go again. We can't move the ball. Iowa's going to block a punt. Who's going to turn the ball over? Who's going to fumble? Whatever it's going to be. Right.
Different feeling.
But this from Nebraska men's basketball tonight, it felt like a team that relaxed. They got comfortable by going up 15, like they thought that they could just cruise for the last 13 minutes of the game. They got a little soft, and they could never regain it in the second half.
Yeah, this is, to me, always the tough part about when you have, to me, an offense where you got a bunch of guys, and Bryce Williams is kind of that dude, but sometimes when you're really trying to spread the wealth, you need somebody to just go out there and get a bucket. Like we'll kind of talk about this. I'm not trying to pick on any players, but if you go through the box, you'll see Juwan Gary 5 for 21.
5 for 20.
That's not going to cut it.
That's the most shots of anyone in the game. Juwan Gary, on his way to 13 points, took more shots than Peyton Sandfort did. Peyton Sandfort credited with 15 shots for 30 points. Took more shots than Josh Dix, who had 31 points, leading scorer on the game. He only took 14. Yeah. And again, you're padding some of these numbers at the free throw line. And it's not like Nebraska was saying, hey, Juwan Gary, go to work, go cook. Some of that was Juwan Gary at the rim, right? He did a good job on the glass. 13 rebounds for Juwan Gary for the game. 13 point, 13 rebound, double-double. Only player with a double-double in the game. But that's a lot of shots for Juwan Gary, who clearly wasn't feeling it tonight. Missed a couple easy layups that I know he would like to have back, was 0 of 3 from 3. But even more than that, Harrison, Nebraska comes in as a 70+% free throw shooting team as a team. The Huskers go 12 of 22 from the free throw line. 12 of 22.
My high school team did better.
3 of 7 in the first half, 6 of 9 in the second half. And then in overtime, when you got to find ways to put points on the board, they're back down to 3 of 6. Granted, it was 2 players, Bryce Williams 2 for 2, but Raleigh Wooster only 2 of 7 at the free throw line on the day. So before we talk about the other big story from this game, Harrison, it was the relaxing from Nebraska. It was letting shooters get hot for Iowa. It was the missed opportunities at the rim and at the free throw line that I think more than anything did Nebraska in tonight.
Well, I mean, that's the real killer on all of this, is because Nebraska's been a really good free throw shooting team for the most part, right? Like, more nights than not, you feel pretty confident about what you put out there on the stripe. We got to OT. Just needed one of those free throws. Like, as ugly as this whole game was, if you just would have taken care of the one thing that you typically good at, which is your free throws, you probably walk out with a win. And that's with, a really bad day for Juwan Gary, who'd tell you the same thing. That's, from a lackluster defensive performance. That's lackluster. And it's not just Juwan Gary. I mean, the entire offense. I know we scored 87, but obviously you count 11. Was it 11 points? Yeah, you give them 11 in overtime. So
21 in overtime.
Oh, the Huskers had 21 in overtime?
No, sorry. Huskers had 11. Iowa had 21. Sorry.
Yeah,
my bad.
The Huskers. Like,
yes.
It still seems like a somewhat high scoring game for Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
Really not. I mean, it's okay, but Iowa's a team that, especially what at least my mindset coming in, you can tell me if you disagree, I think this is a game where you just go on there and you bully Iowa, especially in that second half. The players that they had out there, I get it's tough to set up, Mia. You got to kind of get him in the action off the roll, man. But to me, it just felt like a game where you just simplify it. You play the way Texas A&M almost played you. And I get you don't have the same type of athletes that can go downhill like that, but you still got guys like Bryce Williams. You can spread it out a little bit better than what Texas A&M was able to do. In their game, they could have done whatever they want because the way they're shooting the three. But I just think that's a game where you kind of keep it simple. You go downhill more often than not. And if you take the threes when they're there, but that's one where I just thought there's a lot of points left on the table because it looked like the best offense Nebraska had was anytime they were driving at the rim.
I think you're right on principle and generally. I don't think Nebraska did a terrible job of that. Nebraska ends up with, of its 87 points, 42 of them were in the paint. They did a good job, I thought, for the most part, of attacking and getting downhill. But what we saw a couple times, Harrison, in key moments, was the offense did bog down. When it got late, when it got close, or there's a very fine line for every team, but especially for Nebraska. Sometimes they almost tried too hard to get it into Andrew Morgan. He would take 4 dribbles, have to reset. They went right back to it. The ball stayed on one side of the floor for 15 seconds. When was Nebraska getting its best looks? When everyone was involved and they were in the flow of their offense. And again, credit Iowa. Their defensive intensity picked up in the second half, especially, right? Once they started hitting shots, they started being a little bit more aggressive with the ball. Nebraska kind of went into a shell a little bit, got a little loose, got a little soft with it, but it's still Iowa. That is not a good defensive team. You shoot 46% overall for Nebraska, 33 of 71, even 9 of 23 from 3. That's pretty good for this year's Nebraska
not
team.
Not as bad as I thought. I guess the thing that surprised me the most, and again, if you guys were listening, you'll realize that I didn't necessarily have the greatest eyes on the TV for the first half there. But to your point, like really in that second half, that's part. It's just the kind of idleness. And maybe that's where that 15-point lead falls apart. And that's kind of what it feels like that happens to Nebraska with every big lead we have, is we kind of pump the brakes a little bit into the offense. It's kind of similar to what everyone's complaining about Husker football doing for how many years. You get complacent. You're like, okay, we got the lead. We just want to get out with the win. And we're so scared about losing the lead that we're just a little too conservative. And, it kind of feels like that trap happens a few times with this Husker offense.
It does. 402-464-5685. Make sure we get your thoughts here on the show, on the post-game show. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors. We've got Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, and Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Really appreciate them for their sponsorship here of the post-game post-up. It's been a thing, Harrison, for Nebraska so far this year. And I think there's a few examples, right? Bethune-Cookman comes into Lincoln. Nebraska's up pretty big in that game. They start whittling the lead down. Nebraska's just trying to sit on it, which is fine. when you're going to defend like Nebraska did at the end against UCLA. Nebraska went 7+ minutes without a field goal against UCLA, but still defended their butts off.
UCLA. Yeah, and like that's what's kind of worrying me, because like the second half of this game, like very similar to UCLA. Like, let's just not piss it down our leg, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And UCLA, they managed to dodge the bullet. They were hitting free throws that day. Today, they weren't hitting their free throws, and they took the bullet. So, like, this is the thing where, again, like, it's great to have a good balanced offense. And today, Bryce Williams really was that guy. He got him to overtime. But that's why it's important to have guys like Bryce Williams, who's just going to demand a bucket. Like, we're not going to start with this idleness. And if you're Bryce Williams, maybe the next part of that is you got to speak with your, not just your action, maybe your words, get people moving. And then, I guess I couldn't tell you. I'd have to get into the mindset of what Fred Hoiberg wants in those situations. Maybe that's what he does kind of want. Like, what's really do slow things down. But I don't know. What's your explanation for that just absolute grinding to a halt that, I mean, it seems pretty intentional that you're trying to slow things down, but just too much at times.
A little bit too much at times. Again, I think you need to mismatch hunt. I thought Nebraska did a better job of that, but they didn't always capitalize. And then when Nebraska did get stops, Harrison, they didn't always capitalize on live ball turnovers, right? There are a couple that we looked at. Nebraska had transition opportunities that they didn't take full advantage of. Sam Hoiberg pitches one a little too far ahead for Juwan Guerra and what could have been a dunk. I think about another opportunity where Nebraska has a mismatch advantage in the post ahead and open. They don't throw it there. Nebraska never hit that dagger 3 on a trail, right? Like Iowa did. And that, to me, is something that Strick and I have talked about a lot during On the Block, and something that Nebraska needs to figure out is how to get easy points. Because, yes, it was 87 points for Nebraska, and there were moments where it looked easy, but where were the walk-in threes for Bryce Williams in transition? Where were the lobs consistently, or where were the guys wide open in the paint, right? Nebraska is a better defense than Iowa, but Owen Freeman had a couple wide open lanes a couple times. Iowa's shooters got wide open 7, 8, 9 times in the game.
And we talked about it.
And Nebraska didn't manufacture any easy looks consistently.
Well, and I want to bring this up too. Like, what was the thing that you pointed out right away? Like, how many passes were getting a lot of those easy looks for Iowa?
1 or 2.
Yeah, it was instant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
and that's communication. That's focus. Whether it's in transition or out of a half court set, regardless, 1 or 2 passes into an offense, it's inexcusable for that to be an open shot, no matter who you're playing.
Especially when those passes are out to the perimeter on a team who's down, who's just gunning for threes. And you're in, like, that's just stuff where you have a bad day. I don't know if the mindset wasn't right. They just weren't focused. But yeah, it wasn't a great showing. For everybody watching the game on their TV, you knew exactly what Iowa wanted to do, but for whatever reason, it just felt like Nebraska was a half step behind. Multiple times, especially late in the game there. Again, it's one pass wide open, not just that, wide open 3. We're talking wide open in the corner. The easiest 3 you're going to get, and you just can't have that. And that's how you do get, a single guy getting all of his 27 points in the second half. We got a few from YouTube here. We'll get to them. Dare to Love, and you can't argue with this. It says terrible loss, definitely not a top 25 team yet. And we haven't even talked about that. That was definitely on the table for Nebraska. I think the thing at the table is you got to go get a Big Ten road win. If Nebraska did that, who knows? They're getting plenty of votes already, but they were still just outside, I believe, with 62 votes on the last AP poll. And then
points,
got my own mother chiming in here. Seriously, why can't we just beat Iowa? Unknown texter. Well, I'll let you respond to this real quick.
Let's say, I got the text line up. Which one do you want to hit first?
I was going to go with 4850.
Okay, hit him with the text.
Yeah, so he says, Coach really needed to call a timeout during Iowa's big run in the second half and reset the defense, stop the momentum, and get the team's body language in check. I don't understand how we just let that run go for so long with no in-game adjustment. I got my own thoughts on this, but I'll let you take a stab at it first.
He did call a timeout at one point in that run, but it didn't matter. Called one in the first half to stop a run, and I think it was the 8:05 point of the first half. Might have been the 8:05 point of the second half, but it was right before a U8 break that Fred Hoiberg calls a timeout to reset the team, and it didn't do anything. It didn't necessarily matter. And that, to me, is the scary part. This is an older veteran team that I don't think should need as many timeouts. But again, you see the difference between a team that has offensive weapons at every position versus a team like Nebraska that has to rely on one or two guys and has some really sketchy offensive lineups out there is that, yes, Bryce Williams is a really good scorer, right? His scoring average went up tonight, came in 4th in the Big Ten in scoring. He's gonna jump tonight after this 28-point performance. But again, Juwan Gary can't go 5 of 21 and can't be your second best offensive player. Connor Essegian, 2 of 6 from 3. Not atrocious, but he took a couple really bad ones.
Well, and he's also
the
on
same
a bad
possession.
skid right now. Like, this is a couple games. When you're dealing with a few weapons, those, you see the best players in the world, Klay Thompson always gets accused for it, sometimes wrongfully, but the greatest players are going to go through skids. So when you're down to a few of them, it's really scary to go out through the course of an entire Big Ten season.
And I thought Raleigh Wooster did a pretty good job offensively, 6 of 9 overall. He did a good job of doing some Sam Griesel bully ball at times, but only 2 for 7 from the free throw line. Berkay Boyuktanjel and Andrew Morgan, 16 points between them on 6 of 10 overall. And those two guys just 2 of 5 at the free throw line. But more so than the personnel, Harris, I mean, it just comes down to some numbers. 15 of 27 on layups is not going to get it done. Against a team like Iowa that doesn't have 0 rim protection, it has less. Owen Freeman looked like a stud defensively, and he's not. Owen Freeman is not a good defender. Nebraska did not finish well over him or at the rim, despite Braxton Mia. Again, I'm not a guy that says you have to slow it down and play through Morgan and Boyuktanjel, but Owen Freeman got easy looks. Nebraska's bigs didn't necessarily have that. Again, 12 of 22 on free throws, and in regulation, I believe 3 of 7 and 6 of 9, so 9 of 16 on free throws in regulation. Are you kidding me? That's not good enough. You hit 1 more of those, you hit 2 more of those, 3 more of those, and you don't need Bryce Williams heroics at the end, which incredible shot by Bryce Williams. Iowa was definitely trying to foul there, but we'll get into the reffing here in just a minute. But I even asked Fred Hoiberg a question along those lines after the UCLA game, because don't forget, UCLA started that game on a 7-0 run. Nebraska went on a 15-0 run. UCLA answered right back with the 15-0 run. I asked Fred Hoiberg, they already used their use it or lose it timeout, their freebie in the first half, because Sam Hoiberg couldn't get the ball in bounds against some pretty good pressure from UCLA. So they have to take a timeout there. They get the ball in. But then UCLA goes on that run, and Fred Hoiberg doesn't take a timeout there. And I asked him, if you had that extra timeout back, would you have called it? Were you going to trust your guys to play through it? And he said, yeah, no, we don't know because we didn't have that timeout. But I like this group. I trust them. They found a way to make winning plays at the end. And yeah, Iowa just made more winning plays, but also Nebraska made some losing plays, right? Someone needed to step up and take charge. And that's been Juwan Gary for this team. When you're going 5 of 21, you're missing easy ones. Man, that voice doesn't carry as much impact. Whether that's right or wrong, that's human nature. Juwan, you're struggling. Why are you telling us to pick it up? You pick it up. And Juwan did make some big defensive plays late. There's a little bit too little too late. So I don't think this was necessarily a timeout would have solved everything, because I'm going to refer to the Jay Foreman thing here. Sometimes players just got to make plays. Yeah, Nebraska relaxed on defense. Iowa hit shots on offense, and Nebraska wasn't able to overcome it by going 15 of 27 on layups and 12 of 22 at the free throw line.
Okay, so you said 15 to 27
on layups.
So earlier in the show, I mentioned I was upset with the offense. Maybe that's what, I'm really noticing there. It's like, man, we're that bad on layups. So I guess you're right. We were attacking, but just couldn't finish. And you're right. Like, I thought it was going to be a big strength for us, and it really should have been. That's a tough number to swallow. But yeah, nonetheless, kind of going through this game here I don't know. Do you want to touch on the refs yet?
Let's get to 6349 on our Sutter Heyman Jewelers text line again, 402-464-5685. What do you think was the biggest issue for Nebraska men's basketball tonight? 6349 says nobody, absolutely nobody gives away games like Nebraska. Nobody just effing gave it away. And here is the magnum opus of this text. And this is a Husker fan in Iowa. So 6349, I am sorry that this is what you're going through. I'm sorry for how your next couple days are going to go. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But here's the thing, Harrison. May have given away a ticket to the big dance. Chill, bruh.
Got some time, yeah.
Chill. It's okay, right? No, tonight is not a good look. I don't want to call tonight embarrassing. It was certainly disappointing.
Yeah, but
a disappointing loss to go down 7 to up 8 to up 15 just to lose a game by 10. Iowa was 25 points better than Nebraska over the last 18 minutes of that game. That's hard to do, especially against a Nebraska team whose identity is on the defensive end, right? And this is part of the reason why, Harrison, I will always be an offense over defense guy, right? Yeah, I see the Thunder. Yeah, I see the Celtics. Yeah, I see the Cavs. Yeah, I see the Magic in the NBA, whatever. Good offense beats good defense. Now, good offense beats some really bad defense from Nebraska, especially in transition. Iowa hit some tough shots, but Iowa manufactured some decent looks against Nebraska too. Nebraska just didn't have the offensive weapons to keep up with Iowa, especially when it wasn't executing and getting points in the half-court setting to slow Iowa down, not let them get out in transition where Iowa killed Nebraska at times as well. But no, Nebraska didn't throw away a ticket to the big dance with a loss to Iowa. Iowa needed this win worse than Nebraska did. And again, that's not excusing the performance from Nebraska. It's throw out the cliche. It's tough to win on the road. It is. Nebraska now 2-11 all time in Carver Hawkeye Arena. In their next game on Saturday, also a big one, a place they've never won. Mackey Arena against Purdue, but that's a top 25 team in Purdue. A road win at Purdue will do more for the resume than a loss at Iowa will. It's a tough loss. It is an incredibly difficult pill to swallow, but I promise you, the season is not over yet.
Yeah. And he could be right, because if your season is beating Iowa, well, you might have an army, because then you're just down to maybe a Big Ten tournament matchup. But yeah, no, the season is not over. There's plenty of ball game. And again, like, you're going to have some more road games. It is important. I will say that was a great opportunity to go get that first Big Ten road game win. But you didn't. You dropped the ball on it. The bright side is you got more ball games left on the road. And Purdue's a big one. And it's also an opportunity. I understand Iowa, they're not the cream of the crop. They're not Illinois. They're not what Michigan is this year. But it's a better team than what I think it even was last year. Like, this is not a horrible Iowa team. And it is a tough place to play. It's not just Nebraska that struggles there. Really, you go across the Big Ten, every Big Ten team struggles on the road versus another Big Ten team. So Nebraska, I mean, what is the number? I mean, realistically, I think if you're Nebraska, you get 2, 3, 4, really get anywhere around that 20 range. Obviously, you want to do better than that, but that's where you're starting to flirt with the dance. So we're not anywhere away from, we're not going dancing this year. Not yet.
Yeah, to answer your question briefly, let's just pull up the Nebraska schedule here. As always, you need to get a certain number of wins, but more than anything, it's who you beat and where you beat them. Nebraska gets a win over Purdue. That's huge, right? Nebraska might have been up to the 7 line after the win over UCLA. They're probably back to the 8 or 9 range after this loss. It hurts, but it's not crippling. You beat Purdue, you're back up to a 7, maybe even a 6, because you beat them on the road. You go to Maryland, that's a team that the numbers love right now. That's a road game and not the craziest environment. Wisconsin, you have a chance to beat on the road. Oregon, more athletic than Nebraska, but certainly vulnerable. Washington should be gettable. At Northwestern should be an interesting game. And then at Penn State, back-to-back. And then at Ohio State. Those are all decent opportunities on the road that they don't kill you if you lose them. And for the most part, they'll help you if you win them. Ohio State's going to be bubbly. Penn State, Northwestern on the bubble. Oregon is right now a top 4 seed. Overall, Maryland is a tournament team. Wisconsin's a tournament team if the season ends today. And Purdue as well. So if Nebraska can get 2 of those, if Nebraska gets Northwestern and Penn State, okay, you won on the road. That's not exactly what you're looking for, but at least you want a couple on the road. I still think if there's a year to beat Purdue on the road, it feels like this one. But we'll get to that later in the week. If Nebraska gets Ohio State, Northwestern, and Penn State on the road, that's probably good enough for what you did on the road, even if you throw Washington in there as well. And then can Nebraska defend home court? Rutgers has 2 of the 10 best players in the Big Ten. Arguably that's going to be a tough one, but
they're record right now. I think
they're on a slide.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing start.
You might be getting them at the right time. USC is not what anyone would confuse with a good team. Illinois is going to be tough. I think a win over Illinois does more for you than a win over UCLA at PBA for the resume and for the psyche of this team. You get Ohio State and Maryland. Those are 2 of your double plays. You get them at home. Michigan at the end of February is going to be a fun one. Minnesota at home. And then here's this, Harrison. This isn't the last time Nebraska sees Iowa. Only played them once last year, but Iowa will be the senior day game for Nebraska to wrap up the regular season. So yes, it hurts right now, but if you beat Iowa in Lincoln to end the regular season, it is literally no harm, no foul.
Just wash. Call it a wash, and then you just got to worry about the games we have ahead of us now. That's fantastic. I did not know that. We got a chance for those guys on
Senior night.
When's the last
March
time
9th.
that's happened where you play Iowa twice in the same season for basketball?
It happens not as often as it should. Last year, Nebraska only went to Iowa. The year before that, in the 16 and 16 year, Nebraska hosted Iowa for the resumption of conference play, and then was Iowa's senior day.
Oh, okay.
And
So
Nebraska swept Iowa that year. Yeah.
Hopefully, well, we won't get to sweep. We can hopefully match up the series. Real quick here, let's go ahead and get to it because we do got Jason off YouTube. He's very excited for this one. He says, "Holy hell, the officiating was absolute garbage. I'm glad you're going to get to it." He does add on to your point. Yeah, I think we lost. If you think we lost a chance from the dance from this, then UCLA is also out for losing against us. So just kind of putting it all squared up for it. But yeah, so when it comes to the officiating, wasn't fantastic, but I mean, just at the end there were some really tough ones where it was the one where I believe they gave it to Juwan Gary for calling it out of bounds on him.
There were I think 3 calls that stood out to me for how four calls that stood out for how egregious they were. I'm not even going to mention the 2 charges on Bryce Williams in the first half that were questionable at best. The 4 calls that come to mind for me were there's a jump ball that gets called when Iowa just tosses Boyington to the floor.
Yeah, that one was bad.
That was pretty bad. There was the out of bounds call on Juwan Gary, to your point, where he's going after a loose ball. He's along the sideline, and you can see Sanford give him a little thrust, a little bump out of bounds. Referee is right up the sideline from it. Should be staring right at it. And no, Juwan Gary just moved his feet.
Well,
he just shuffled out of bounds. No, bro, he got bumped out of bounds by a player. It was an incidental contact, maybe a little bit.
But it's just, you see unnatural movement like that, and I just don't know how in the world you're like, Juwan meant to thrust his body out of bounds.
Right. He meant to move his hip out of bounds. And I can get it. I'm okay with on that loose ball stuff. It's players going full speed. Yeah. It's hard to slow yourself down.
But he was at a stop.
But Sanford had basically come to a stop and then walked right up under Juwan Gary and ushered him out of bounds. And all of a sudden, it's Iowa ball, not a foul there. The foul on Bryce Williams where Sanford was coming around the perimeter right in front of Iowa's bench. Robbie Hummel tried to say Bryce Williams' hand was on Sanford's hip. I didn't see much of anything. If anything, it was the Reggie Miller kick the leg out. That's where the contact was. Sanford misses it, gets 3 free throws, knocks them all down, and that was at the start of him going completely supernova. So again, let a guy get hot at the free throw line. He hasn't necessarily seen the ball go through the basket a whole lot. And despite all of those calls that happened earlier in the game, Nebraska's let the lead slip away. They're down by 1. They go to Bryce Williams, and dare I say, kind of look like Cooper Flagg, right? He's trying to drive. Handle gets a little wide, loses the ball. Not Peyton Sanford, number 20, Iowa's best player, but his younger brother Price Sanford picks it up, takes a dribble, is looking to pass in transition. 2 hands on the ball, takes a step, puts it right back down for a second dribble, right in front of the official, right at half court, right in front of Fred Hoiberg, right in front of Fran McCaffrey. No double dribble call. Instead, Iowa gets the ball to Brock Harding. He goes to the line, hits 2 free throws, and that did lead to the Bryce Williams 3 from the right wing in front of Nebraska's bench to tie the game. But 2 things on that. Number one of the most egregious missed calls we've seen against Nebraska in a long time. That was absolutely horrendous. There is no excuse for missing that one. And this is where the Matt Rule line of "I'm tired of getting messages on Sunday" applies, right? There is no excuse for officials to miss that call. It was right in front of them. It was obvious, and it helped determine the outcome of the game. I thought Nebraska went a little too early there. Down 1, you got to shoot with probably 7 or 8 seconds on the clock. Bryce was going with like, I think he started that move at 18. When the ball got picked, it was close to 7 seconds there by the time the loose ball, the foul, the double dribble and everything. And then Nebraska had to foul 4 times to get Iowa into the bonus. So I don't think Nebraska timed it very well. I don't think Nebraska put Bryce Williams in the best position to succeed because why did he lose the ball? They let him go one-on-one. He was trying to back the guy down, lost his vision. Iowa came to pick the pocket. I didn't love the set. The missed call was egregious. There's absolutely no spot for it. And yet it shouldn't have made a difference if Nebraska could finish at the rim or hit a free throw.
Yeah, that's the part that sucks, right? We can point the finger at the refs. We can point the finger at Iowa's luck. There's a lot of things to point to on Nebraska's side.
I do want to throw this out there as well. So Scott Docterman, who's the longtime writer, not long time, but he's covered Iowa athletics for a while, used to write about them for The Athletic before moving on to a more national role. Scott says Two things. First of all, he says, I don't know how Fred Hoiberg stays in this game. The officiating has been rough on the Huskers. Follows that up with, I say this with extreme impartiality, and I'm at home, not at Carver Hawkeye. I don't think I've seen a road team get screwed this bad in a long time. How they miss a double dribble and some of the fouls is ridiculous.
Okay, so there you go.
It was a problem. The officiating was a problem. It was a Big Ten ref show. It absolutely was, and it helped cost Nebraska the game. But Nebraska did it to itself. Nebraska had every opportunity to put this game away or closer to away late in the first half, extend a 15-point lead to a 20-point lead, to let Iowa cut it to 10 or to 8, and then go on a run of its own. But as much as there is warranted grief about the officiating, Nebraska didn't respond in the moment. No one stepped up and took charge offensively. No one stepped up and took charge defensively. No one stepped up to make that one or two plays in a sequence that would win Nebraska the game. And that's the concerning part for me, is you're not going to get the calls every night. You're not going to have shots fall every night. But yeah, Bryce Williams had 28 points. That's where Nebraska needs to go to him to get him an easy look, 2 or 3 possessions in a row. I hated that about the start of overtime, Harrison. Bryce hits that 3 from the right wing to tie it, to send it to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened on that first play because Nebraska wins the tip. It looked like Braxton Mia was a little confused about the play, but Bryce Williams never touched the ball. He just hit the 3 to send it to overtime. He's been your best scorer all night. You had him in the matchup, or we're setting up the matchup you wanted, and he doesn't touch the ball. That is inexcusable.
It's one of those things too where Bryce Williams, he's the right guy to go ahead and give him the cape at the end of the ball games, but you gotta do better setting him up. That's how I always kind of feel. Like, he's not, where he struggles the most to me is where you give him the ball at the top of the key, where he's got to dribble up for 20 seconds, then go make his move real quick. Let him work off ball a little bit, especially if we're going to have Ulis back and healthy, unless it's just a trust thing with him, where you're not sure if you trust him fully yet, but he seems like a good enough ball handler. You need to set Bryce Williams up off ball for me more. I think that's where his strength's going to be now that you do have Ulis back. And when you get into those late game situations, I just don't know. It feels like the whole team kind of panics if Juwan Gary or Bryce Williams doesn't have it.
Which is not exactly what you want. And so what's the solution? What is the fix moving forward?
It's not a Sejan. I mean, because Sejan's great, but you can't just have, no great 3-point shooter stays hot from 3 all game long.
Or all season long.
No, it's a little bit of so you got to have, that's what I'm saying again. Like, it's, I understand what Braxton Mia, he's not like this offensive juggernaut, but you can set him up in ways that are very simple. And then if you want to use Bryce Williams, a little bit more of a ball handler, I think you almost simplify a little bit on the offensive end just because you are that limited. And if you got the advantage, it's going to be, like, I think, a tough job for Hoiberg to really do, not just him, the entire coaching staff, to do their job scouting who the mismatches are. And then I feel like you're going to have some opportunities to use Mia, and Iowa was one of those games you got to do it. But I think it's just going to kind of be a challenge all year, is like really identifying those mismatches. So that way the entire game doesn't just have to fall on a few guys' shoulders.
It shouldn't be hard to identify the mismatch, right? It should be pretty obvious, but how do you get to it? And then how do guys take advantage of it? I think is the question, because again, Nebraska had Mia a couple times. You had a Hoiberg to Mia lob. You had Mia matched up on Peyton Sandford a couple times, but that's one where he got the ball. All he has to do is turn over his left shoulder to a right-handed jump hook, but he kicks it out.
Yeah,
right. That's a confusing one, but that to me, Harrison, is a personal failure and a letdown from Braxton Mia, but also a guy who's still struggling to find his role and figure out, what he's supposed to do. Because if that is a confident player that knows exactly what his role is, hey, I have this matchup, it's my turn to attack it, he makes that drop step jump hook move and makes that shot probably 70% of the time.
Well, today,
but because he's not confident, because they're not playing through him, because he doesn't get many opportunities, it's, oh crap, what do I do? This might be a shot for me, but it's not my role to shoot. So Bryce, here you go, real quick.
Yeah, and that's the thing that killed me the most, because it's not even a drop hook shot. We're not even talking putting any like fancy touch on it. Like, this is one of the best matchups you're going to get all game. For him, like, if he's gets there in the fast break, he does. I'll tell you what, is a fantastic job of, and what Bryce Williams and Sejan and all those guys, Wooster, are good at doing, is understanding where he's at to use him as a seal, but they don't always know how to utilize him as the roll man running downhill with him. And that's not all on just the guards, right? There's sometimes where Mia, sometimes as the center, you got to be aggressive. You got to yell at your guys, that give me the ball. Like, when you're open, make yourself, throw your hand out there. make it obvious if you really want it. And there's just times where I think he's got to demand it a little bit more out of his teammates and himself. Bryce Williams, he's going to have to kind of continue, I think, to still kind of lead in the playmaking until Ulis really kind of comes to full circle. I'll ask you this real quick. What is Ulis's role on this team? I know we talked a little bit off air, and he is coming back, right? So it's not like we should all judge him for not having it figured out right away. But kind of how do you see him, plugging into this team, as there's certainly still improvements that need to be made?
So the role that I see for Aaron Ulis is in a combination role with Sam Hoiberg. They're similar players, but they give you slightly different skills. If we look at these two guys, this was going into tonight's game. Obviously, Ulis missed a handful of games with the ankle injury. He's playing 14.6 minutes per game, and Sam Hoiberg played in all 14 games at an average of 18.4 minutes per game. Hoiberg hit a big three tonight, 1 and 2 at the free throw line for him as well. Ulis is a guy I trust a little bit more probing the paint. This has been one of my gripes with Sam, is that, hey, dude, teams are okay with you driving. Because you come off at 2 feet, you're not a threat to score over them. If you don't have an angle to go up and under for a layup, they know that they're longer than you. They take away your passing angles out. So again, fine fundamental basketball, but I have a little more faith in Ulis when he drives to find an angle to score, a little bit thicker body as well. I put the shoulder down and score. But the main reason you have Sam Hoiberg and Aaron Ulis is the defense, right? So tonight it was for Sam Hoiberg 25 minutes before he fouled out in overtime, and Aaron Ulis 7 in his return to the place he played his first couple seasons of college basketball. I think 32 minutes between those guys, which again, 25 plus 7 is the same as 18 plus 14. 32 minutes out of 200 for those guys is a little rich for my blood because, like we've talked about, there aren't a whole lot of other options for Nebraska offensively. Right now, Esijan has to shoot better from 3 if he wants to earn more minutes. But that's why I've been saying, Harrison, for a while, it's great that Esijan did what he did in the non-conference. You need a guy like that to help get you through, to win you a couple games and get you hot, get you going. But the real test for Connor Esijan is in conference play against teams that know him, that know his role, know what he's capable of doing. So, yeah, it's been an impressive start for Connor Esijan, but we'll figure out what kind of player he truly is for Nebraska over the next 17 games, right? It's a 20-game thing for him, not the first 11 or 12 of the year. So I think that Aaron Ulis and Sam Hoiberg probably need to combine for somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 minutes per game, however that breaks down.
So you're cutting quite a bit.
I would. I mean, there are going to be
Yeah.
games where you need both of them and you need that defensive intensity, because there in the first half, when Ulis and Hoiberg were on the court, it was working for Nebraska defensively. But then Iowa got hot. Those guys weren't adding anything offensively, and they weren't necessarily, creating havoc defensively, because Iowa's, they were on Peyton Sand for a little bit. He's taller than them. Josh Dix, taller and longer than them. Felwell and Harding are small guards as well. That's not who they're being asked to guard consistently. I would get the mismatches they wanted. So if Ulis and Hoiberg aren't going to help you get stops, their minutes have to go down because they're not necessarily as consistent offensively. And here's the other part. Having them both on the court at the same time.
Yeah, that's where it just nullifies it completely.
Basically can't happen. It has to happen for Nebraska at times, but it can't happen consistently. There's just not enough offense.
Having a good day shooting, I don't want to like.
But here's the thing: those two will be on the lineup most often with Juwan Gary and Andrew Morgan. That's how this works out. Whether it's Esijan or Williams or Boyuktanjel that are in the game with them, there's just not a lot of offense there in that lineup for a floor that gets incredibly small when you're playing through Andrew Morgan and Juwan Gary. And I say small, I mean condensed floor with those guys, because they're not consistent floor spacing. It's not going to go well. Not only are there not driving lanes, there's not consistent outside shots to open anything up. And then when you get the ball into Morgan in the post, teams aren't as afraid to double, to rake down and give him less space to make a move. There's not a lane for Juwan Gary to put his head down and try to get to the basket. So there's a role for both of those guys. Nebraska will need them both to get through the grind of Big Ten conference play. But man, it's hard for me to want both those guys on the court at the same time, especially if Bryce Williams needs a breather, right? Which he does, right? He's only human. He's asked to shoulder a lot of responsibility for this team offensively, which is where having at least one more capable, consistent shooter, if not 2 or 3, would go a long way for making Bryce Williams' job a whole heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, but those two, Ewell's just gonna be interesting. I'm curious to see if he evolves more too, and there's just more of him to see that maybe I'm not entirely familiar with. But I'm not too far off with you, especially when they're both on the court together. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, how good is my offense today to where I'm feeling that good? Because both of those guys aren't necessarily going to go scare any defense, so you're really gonna struggle with your spacing. Neither of those guys are going to get a whole lot of respect that they sit out there at the 3-point line. Same thing, like you said, they can drive through. Teams aren't really gonna crash over too hard. Good defenders, yes. How far are we ahead? How good was the offense? That's kind of where I'm at. If you're gonna play them together, individually, I think those two are very just kind of matchup based. Like, what has the other side got for guard play? It's gonna really dictate.
Yeah, few possessions at a time, I think, is what it goes to.
That's exactly
something from stream.
Nope. I was gonna say I pretty much that's what I got on it. We got Jason saying, going back all the way to the calls. Yeah, those were the calls that got me heated. Complete garbage. So you nailed them for him.
Yeah, well, let's one more time thank Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, as well as Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. And this is how I'll put a bow on it, Harrison. A disappointing night for Nebraska. A chance to pick up their third win since the merge to the Big Ten for Nebraska. Let it slip through their fingertips from down 7 to up 8 to up 15. Iowa wins it by 10 in overtime. It's a long season. Tonight's going to sting. Strick and I will talk about it. We'll break it down a little bit more tomorrow because I'm sure Stricky will have thoughts on how this one went down. But here's the thing. There is a golden opportunity for Nebraska on Saturday on the road at Mackey Arena. Season's not over. This one hurts. Nebraska falls back to 500 in Big Ten Conference play, 12-3 on the year. A 97-87 loss to the Huskers against the Hawkeyes in Iowa City. Thanks, Harrison, for sticking around on the board. Thanks to you all for listening here to the post-game post-up. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. Early break starting right at 6 here on The Ticket.